Welcome to episode 4 podcast, where we explore the power of the mind, mental well-being, and the practical tools to help you navigate the challenges of life. I'm your host, Sarah Shemason, and today we'll be diving into an incredibly important topic that affects millions of people, not only yourself, but even me, and I've been there, done that, burnout and mental health. If you've ever felt like you're running on empty, overwhelmed by the constant demands of life, or struggling to find balance, then today's episode is just for you. We'll talk about how to recognize these signs of burnout and how it actually impacts our mental health. And most importantly, how to gently overcome these challenges utilizing NLP strategies. Yes, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which might sound like a mouthful, but we're going to break it down in a way that makes sense and it feels very doable for yourself. So I would suggest grab yourself a comfy seat, take a deep breath, and let's just dive in together. So let's look at it. First things first, let's talk about what actual burnout looks like and what it is. Burnout isn't just about feeling tired. It's not that occasional, that I need that nap kind of fatigue. No, actually what burnout is, it's a state of physical, emotional, and very extreme mental exhaustion. And it's caused by a prolonged level of stress. So it's like almost a buildup and where your cup gets so extremely full. So it's when the weight of your responsibilities, whether at work, home, or in a relationship, starts to overwhelm your system. And eventually it takes a serious toll on your body, including your mind. So you might be wondering, is it burnout or am I just stressed? Well, here's something important. Burnout can sometimes mimic other serious conditions, which can make it especially tricky to recognize and navigate. So when you're in a prolonged state of burnout, the stress response in your body isn't just psychological issues. The physical effects can feel very real, and at times it is extremely alarming. For instance, burnout often presents things like chest tightness, where your heart palpitations are no longer consistent, which can feel like a heart attack. Shortness of breath, which could resemble the symptoms of a panic attack. And then you have those muscle tensions with extreme headaches, almost like you're getting that migraine that you've never experienced before, or maybe you have in some parts of your life. And if you have an autoimmune disease, well, guess what? Most likely it's in a flare, or the symptoms of what you thought you had that is no longer there gets amplified, intensifies within your system, and then the symptoms just decide to show up a little bit more. And then many people experiencing burnout think that they're having pretty much a heart attack or suffering from a panic attack. But it's actually their body's response to chronic stress. And if you've already had an autoimmune condition like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, or MS, or even Hashimoto, burnout can intensify those symptoms. And you might notice the flare-ups, things like joint pain, extreme fatigue, inflammation that seems much worse than actual usual day-to-day. And it's important to understand that burnout doesn't just impact your mental health. It is very real. And I'm really serious. It's extremely real. Physical consequences that come with it. If you're feeling like there's a heaviness in your chest and that shortness of breath, or even experiencing, those significant flare-ups in your existing health conditions, you got to make sure that you actually consult with a healthcare professional or seek help with your counselor or anyone, maybe even reach out to a friend. But just keep in mind that these symptoms might not always signal a very major health concern, but they could be a result of a burnout you are experiencing in the now. So now that we've sort of briefed a little bit about the signs and how burnout can mimic serious conditions, let's shift our focus a little bit, how we can cope with burnout and gently move through it. It's not about pushing ourselves harder. In fact, that's the opposite of what we need. And the reason why I say that is I'm one for that. I know myself so much that I push myself and excel to almost get to that finish line, only to find that there is nothing left to push and to give. And so I'm giving you a piece of advice from somebody that's trial and error, consistently pushing myself to the edge. It's not worth it. It is actually not worth it, because when you are burnt out, your body and your mind begins to signal all sorts of things because it's running now in overdrive for far too long. And it's just pretty much your body telling you to slow down. Your amygdala, fight, flight, and freeze response and your fauna response is just in a full attack or in a complete pause. And do you really want that sort of life? Is that what you really want? You need to sit with these questions, because I think it's so essential we recognize, is everything that we are working towards, or what we are working towards, worth our health? I mean, something that somebody recently reached out and told me when I reached my wit's end and I was in a burnout phase and my body was sending all sorts of weird signals. And it really resonated. And I want to share this with you today. The words that were relayed to me were, well, if you're going to kill yourself to finish certain studies and to be there for your clients, you're not going to be alive to show up. So maybe slow down one or the other so you can show up for your clients and you can work towards your passion. If you're going to burn yourself out to the point where you're studying and studying and studying and there's no more left of any of you, then you can't show up for the things that you do enjoy and the passion, because your lights have been so dimmed that you cannot recognize what it looks like anymore. And it really sunk in. I mean, if I'm killing myself to achieve something, what use is it if I'm not alive anymore? So the thing is, think about it this way. How do we actually do what we do, and how do we protect our mental and physical well-being while we're in a state of learning to rejuvenate and to heal ourselves? Well, one powerful approach that I find quite useful is utilizing techniques from the methodology of NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And I know it sounds like such a major word and it's massive, but it's only pretty much talking about language. Neuro-Linguistic Programming is just this demystifying language of the mind, how to reprogram it in such a way where you don't have to run the old programs. And what does language have to do with anything? Well, in NLP, it's a set of techniques designed to help you shift the way you think, the way you feel, or even the way you behave, especially when you're facing stress and burnout. So like NLP would work in helping you reframe your thoughts, retrain your responses to stress, and develop new mental habits that are healthier and more sustainable. And let's delve a little bit more deeper and explore how we can apply some NLP techniques to support you during this challenge or during a time of burnout. Let's start with my favorite, which is reframing. And I consistently do this with my clients, with my children, and even with myself in the mirror. But I have been a victim where I fell into the trap where I didn't really reframe myself and I let my thoughts drive me instead of me driving them. Hence why I reached the dead end of a burnout recently. But when you are burnt out, we tend to naturally focus on all the negatives. It's just a response that has been pretty much built in our bodies since time has ever began. So everything technically feels like a mountain that we can't climb, and we get stuck in that. I can't do this, or this is too much mindset. But reframing is about shifting how we look at a situation. And I'll give you an example of this. If you're feeling exhausted, extremely overwhelmed, instead of thinking, well, I'm so tired, I can't do anything, try reframing it to, I'm tired because I've been working hard, I deserve rest, and it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take time out. It's like changing the lens through which you view your stress. Reframing doesn't make your stress disappear, but it helps you regain a sense of control, empowerment. Instead of feeling like the victim of your circumstances, you start to see them as a challenge, or that you have the ability to even manage that challenge. And reframing is very gentle. It's a way to break the cycle of negative thinking, which is obviously crucial when dealing with burnout. But it's also important to note that reframing can be especially useful for people with autoimmune diseases. So when your body is already in a fragile state, shifting your mindset to a place of self-compassion can make a huge difference in how you experience the world and your symptoms. And you're probably thinking, well, Sarah, here I am following and reconditioning my belief systems in the negative thought patterns. And I so get it, because I was at my burnout end a couple weeks ago. If anything, while I'm running this podcast and having this discussion with you today, I am still at that point. Hence why I'm stuttering so much with my language, because I am still at the burnout. But I think it's so essential that we recognize when we're there. We recognize our negative thoughts. We consistently continue to reframe them, because that's the only way we can get out of it. Let's look at something else. Let's look at the gentle snap of fingers. In NLP, something called anchoring is all about creating mental triggers that help you feel calm, centered, and focused. Even when stress is trying to take over, imagine a time when you felt like completely at your best. Maybe it was during a moment of clarity, a time when you felt very strong, balanced, fully in control. We're not talking about the vulnerable states now, we're talking about your strength. So close your eyes for a moment and think about how that moment felt physically. Did you feel your shoulders relax? Maybe your breathing deepened, or you felt more grounded. By anchoring this positive feeling, you can use it in counterbalances that the physical symptoms of burnout, when they arise, can become a little bit more less. Here's how you do it. Find a gesture or a word that you can associate with your positive feeling. It might be touching your fingers together, breathing deeply, or saying a word like calm to yourself. The idea is that you're practicing this anchor regularly. Your brain will begin to associate the gesture or that word with the feeling of peace and calm. And if you're dealing with burnout and autoimmune flare-ups, anchors can be particularly useful. When your body is responding with tension or discomfort, using an anchor can help you tap into the state of relaxation, calming that nervous system, and potentially easing the physical symptoms as well. What I find useful with my clients, I find that when I'm anchoring something in a really strong state of awe and a state of well-being, that, aha moment that I've got this, I usually tell them to hold their earlobe and really put the presenting pressure there. And anytime that they come back to me and they go through the same state and they're in that peak of positivity, I get them to re-anchor a new emotion that's very similar to the previous, but in the positive sense, on their earlobe. That's just another option that you can utilize. Anytime that they're down and out, I remind them, go back to the position of the earlobe that you touched during sessions. And when you're feeling down and out, naturally, because your body has now anchored and associated that feeling in that particular position, it will regain the conscious awareness of bringing you out from that negative state into the positive. Now, here's a big one: self-talk and language patterns. Our inner dialogue obviously shapes how we experience the world. When we're burnt out, we often beat ourselves up, as I was saying before. I'm not good enough, or I should be doing more, for instance. The negative language patterns that fuel burnout cycle, making it even harder to cope. But looking at NLP can help us become aware of this inner dialogue and challenge it by replacing those negative phrases with more supportive language, so we can start to shift our mindset. For example, instead of saying, I can't handle this, try saying, I'm doing the best I can and I'll take it a step at a time. It's similar to reframing, but it's almost like self-talk, language patterns, and becoming more self-aware, utilizing the reframing tools. When we change the way we talk to ourselves, we change the way we feel. It's a simple yet incredible, powerful tool to combat burnout. And for those of us who have these autoimmune diseases, that shift in self-talk can have a profound impact. And autoimmune conditions are often exuberated by stress. So practicing positive self-talk can help lower these stress levels and actually improve your overall sense of well-being. So let me just wrap a few things up. And I don't want to leave you just there with nothing. I want to leave you with a good final thought. Burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a signal from your body and mind that you need rest, recalibration, self-compassion. By recognizing these signs early, using tools like the NLP, few tools I gave you today to gently reset and rewire that mindset, you can navigate burnout in a way that leaves you feeling empowered and not defeated. And remember this, and this is not just to you that is listening, this is also speaking to myself. You are allowed to slow down. You don't need to have everything figured out, and you don't need to be on everything all the time. Life, it ebbs and flows, and it's okay to take a step back when you need to recharge. I mean, if you left your phone for so long without a charger, what do you expect other than death? until you run and run and run and find that charger again. And it doesn't recharge so quickly. But what we tend to do as human beings, because or for some of us, our nature is to go, 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 is that we plug and play almost instantaneously when we need to reset, rejuvenate, and just chillax. And we don't give it enough time to recharge to 100%. And hence why we keep looping back into the burnout state. And so my suggestion to you would be, when you plug and play that phone again, before you play, just plug. Just plug and walk away. Let it recharge. Let it reset. Let it get to 100%. And when it switches on automatically while it's in that recharge state, switch it off so it can recharge in peace. It doesn't have to overheat with all the things that are coming through, whether the emails and all of that. And that goes for the thoughts that you are running inside your head. You know, that endless list that you get so excited to tick sometimes? Or maybe you're a procrastinator and the list never ends and can't seem to even get through it. Well, even in those states, it's a sign that, you know, there are decisions that maybe you're not taking, to watch out, to take care of who you are. So thank you so much again for tuning in to Mind Transformation today. And I hope that these tools can help you navigate through burnout with more peace and clarity. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and leave us a review. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Take care of your mind. Take care of yourself. Until next time, from my heart to yours, as always, stay kind to yourself.